The adage "so bad it's good" has elevated many an unworthy topic. Not that the last couple of pilots we've seen here fit that description. The Henry and June show was an attempt to get some mileage out of characters who were nearing the end of their run. Constant Pain had the misfortune of terrible timing. And although it's possible to get irrationally angry at a show, one has to remember most productions are the result of dozens, hundreds of people who don't set out to make something horrible. Usually. All that being said, Mr. and Mrs. Smith came pretty damn close to being rage-inducing. There's no excuses and no wiggle room. Mr. and Mrs. Smith didn't get greenlit because it was terrible. The basic concept is sound as demonstrated by the movie that preceded it, the show that preceded that, and the show that succeeded all of them, but this interpretation demonstrates fundamental flaws from the moment it gets going and builds on them. I'll admit, it's been close to a decade since I saw the movie, and although the new show is indeed the reason this came to the forefront of my mind, I haven't seen that one either. But see, even if they sucked, those won, because those were greenlit. The initial signs are promising. We start in Prague where our leads, played by a post-Ring Martin Henderson and a post-Fast and Furious Jordana Brewster, are in the middle of a bad cab ride.
How are we supposed to feel trust when you're gone half the time?
I really don't want to talk about this right now.
Oh, you never want to talk about it.
Oh, John, I mean it. Now's really not the time.
Why not?
Because we're handcuffed to a runaway car headed towards a river at 80 miles an hour.
Always something with you, isn't it?
Okay, I added the laugh track, but really, it even has the pause to put it there. We cut to 3 days ago when we see them in their normal suburban life and the problems are apparent immediately. As a small recap, on the 2005 movie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith were assassins that didn't know the other's identity was a cover, at least until the plot demanded them to do so. On this one, they know and don't treat it as a big deal. This decision will come back to bite them in the plot later. To top it off, presumably thanks to the need to create drama, there's been some other changes in their backstories, where Jane Smith continues to be a seasoned professional going to assignments on exotic locations. John Smith is a fuck-up.
Stay in your car. This is as close as we get. I told you, it was supposed to be a clean hit. What part of clean do you not
What are you
understand?
talking about? I got a target, didn't I?
And half a city block.
Come on, half a city block. 2.5 buildings.
My guys on the hill want your head. I want you to clear out by the end of the day.
What's that supposed to mean?
You're fired.
I have to wonder just how important that target was that he's just getting fired and not disappeared for that one. At any rate, he's unemployed now, which means his days are spent cleaning his tools and watching Dr. Phil. That's what the unemployed do, right? Meanwhile, in her secret basement / penthouse headquarters, Jane is being briefed on her next mission.
Rudy's having a little dinner party in Prague. Champagne, caviar, and a weapon of mass destruction to the highest bidder. He's selling a nuclear MRV. We need to take him out, disarm the nuke, then destroy it. Deal's going down this Friday.
But wait!
Don't forget, Friday night, date night.
I remember. What's the plan?
That's so we could wing it.
On a Friday night in the city?
Hey, what's the worst thing that could happen?
New Year's?
Jordan, is there any way we could reschedule?
Sorry, did you not hear the phrases weapon of mass destruction and nuclear? Besides, John has problems of his own. All of that assassin training doesn't cover how to make lunch or survive the advances of the neighborhood MILF. Before he even knows it, he's been roped into a car night where she starts putting the moves on him.
Do you know how to play?
Fast learner.
I'll bet you are.
Not to mention subtly hinting that Jane may be cheating on him. Oh my god! If people want to stop seeing that clip, they should stop using the laziest plots known to man. Also, did you notice how the plot so far has very little to do with any assassin work? It seems we're leaning a little less on the exciting side of the double life, and more into the bits that would later be plundered to death by the CW. To someone who's never worked in the industry, it doesn't look like the plot needs to be that difficult. Just stretch the plot of the movie into a season-long arc, and then add some episodic plots in between. Hell, if you still want to run with them knowing their real jobs, just have them work as a team. That happened in the movie after a while. Give them a weekly mission in an exotic location, and make sure the script has plenty of gunfights to keep the audience engaged. And if the budget doesn't quite stretch that far, just have them do it in the US. Your aim should be NCIS without all of the boring due process thing and interrogation thing. But nope, here we are, stuck with the worst assassin on the planet. It took all of 2 hours with his neighbor before he was sure his wife is having an affair with a mark, instead of the much more logical explanation of just doing agency work. He's so sure of this, in fact, that he installs a tracker on her car, choosing to follow her completely inconspicuously in his burnt-out Chrysler. Then again, maybe I'm giving the other intelligence agencies in this show a little bit too much credit. Despite them setting up a perimeter to protect a meeting between the leader of their agency and their top agent, they still somehow managed to miss him getting into a vantage point, spying on the meeting, and only move to restrain him after the meeting is over.
And like that, he's gone.
What's going on?
We have a tail. You were compromised.
Compromise is the polite way of saying it. And I don't think they'll find their culprit, even with their vast resources and John presumably leaving his car right there. At this point, the entire mission should be assumed to be compromised. With someone discovering the location of an impromptu meeting, they have to assume that the entire agency may be compromised. At the very least, Jane shouldn't go on this assignment anymore, as now there's a non-zero chance that she'll be dead before she gets out of the airport. But nope, there she goes, and John goes right behind her, presumably being really careful so they don't see each other on the plane or on customs.
Excuse me. Look, what's the Czech word for sorry?
Sorry is promenta.
Promenta, buddy.
You know what? Why don't we take those wet clothes off of you?
Okay, alright. So at least she's now 100% sure her husband is in Prague. Incidentally, I'd just like to point out that if this mission fails, the thing most responsible for total nuclear annihilation is this asshole, who continues to demonstrate why he got fired by apparently getting confirmation of her wife pumping a guy for information and storming into the building. This instead of, I don't know, recording it to use on a later conversation, waiting until they're off guard to kill him, waiting until they're off guard to kill them. You know, actual professional assassin stuff. And thanks to that, he blows their covers and we end up back where we started.
I fail to see how this is my fault.
You gave up your wife's cover, and we found the bug on her purse.
Yeah, okay, pal. I really don't need your help right now. Husband-wife time, huh?
My tax dollars hard at work. After saving themselves and more awful couples banter,
You know, I'm kind of liking this one for you. Yeah.
No, honey, no. I'm thinking more that one.
Really? You think that's frumpy? I mean, this one here, I would eat that off you. You know?
No, honey, that one.
But you're making a big mistake.
they still managed to break into the party that was supposedly impossible to get into without an invite. John makes himself useful with the bull in China shop routine, and this gives them an opening to get to the bomb and defuse it, with John providing cover.
Okay, I booked this heel. You've got 5 seconds. All right. Let's go.
Fortunately for the planet, the nuclear material didn't ignite. That explosion seemed really well contained. The guests were startled, but they seemed to be living in a nice, orderly fashion. Enough for John's rich asshole shtick to work, and for them to steal a classic car without being trampled by 100 or so people trying to get away from the giant explosion. Maybe the biggest part of being a secret agent is luck, after all. The epilogue also has some more relationship bullshit with the neighbor, but really, who cares? This one is an example of the system working perfectly for once. There's little redeemable about this pilot. To make a plot about an assassin couple and a nuke so boring that you need filler takes special talent. And really, do I need to say more? Again, I haven't seen the new series, but I hope, expect really, that in their interpretation of a dangerous couple with a double life, the couple is actually dangerous for people other than themselves. Failed pilots are generally about finding diamonds in the rough, and today, dear viewers, I've shown you the rough.